G'day. Today I'm just going to give you guys a tour of our tomato and cucumber enclosure. Built it about 2 years ago and sort of finished it off this year, and it's going pretty well, so I thought I'd give you a walk around. So this is it on the outside. We built this frame originally just to hold the shade sail up here, but with no mesh on the outside, the plant's still got quite a battery, and we also were just growing them straight into dirt, and it was pretty hard to manage the weeds and keep the water consistent to them. So we've changed a bit of that this year. Obviously we've covered it all in aviary mesh, and that stops not only all the birds, stops a lot of rodents, and more importantly stops the white cabbage moths getting in there and laying their eggs on the plants. And there's been a really marked improvement in the way the plants have grown. So it's a pretty small area, it's 6 by 8, and we've got about 160 odd plants in there. To maximise the space, we've run the road right up to the front of the enclosure, and the way we can do that with these 2 gates. So you open it up and you've got full access to all of the rows. The positives of having a gate on the front, right across the front of the enclosure, obviously we have access to every single row, so we don't need to leave space at each end of the row. We can maximise the space, which is great. The negatives about running these gates, unless you run one that is over 6 feet high, is that you're left with a massive head bonker here, and after hitting our heads on here no more than 10 or 20 times, we decided that we'd paint it up to give people a bit of a warning. We've still got to paint it on the inside, but yeah, make sure you're conscious of your OH&S issues when you build something that can take someone's head out. Yeah. And you can see here the system we're using is similar to the no-till that we use in the garden. So that's cardboard with wood mulch on top of it. And then we're running compost rows and planting straight into the compost. So we don't actually don't add any additional fertiliser or anything like that. The plants get everything they need from the compost through the season. The compost inhibits most of the weeds. We've got a few weeds here that are a bit of a pain. We've got nutgrass that comes through everything, but all the others seem to be pretty easy to manage. And as we're doing our pruning of the plants, it's pretty easy just to pull the odd weeds that have popped up. So if you come for a wander, we're using a string trellis system this year as well. So when I meshed the enclosure around these wire strainers up here and ran some straining clips to keep them nice and tight. They crisscross over each other, so the more weight gets put on, the tighter they should all get as the fruits develop. And we're just using a tomahawk string type trellis with the plastic clips. We're doing that for the tomatoes and for the cucumbers. There's a bit of time involved in putting the clips on. Basically come in here every couple of days to trim the unwanted growth on the tomatoes and on the cukes. And while you're doing that, if you see any of the plants that have fallen over, you run them up the string. It's not too labour intensive, and you're in here anyway having a little weed and stuff, so it's quite good fun. The kids also like doing it. We come up the end here. Here's a tomato plant that got going first, so you can see we're just starting to get a bit of colour. These are our Tigrella heirloom tomatoes. Going here, they're looking nice and happy. You can see there's relatively little, there's a bit of colour on these lower leaves, but as we get that, we just sort of trim those lower leaves off to keep the airflow happening through here. These tomato plants are only planted about 400 mil apart. I think the minimum recommendation is about 450, but the spacing seems to be working okay. And like I said, we do have a pretty small area, so we're trying to make it as productive as possible. Plus, with running with the compost and a consistent watering system, and with this good flow through of air, there's hopefully that reduces the likelihood of getting the standard funguses and black spots and stuff like that. Speaking of which, these are field indeterminate tomatoes. So most people know the difference between determinate and indeterminate. It's actually getting harder to find indeterminate field seeds, and me personally, growing up with your Italian neighbours or my mum who loved growing her veggies, this is what tomatoes are to me. Tomatoes to me are field indeterminates that grow up a trellis or a string, and are grown outside with the shift in modern agriculture towards lots of greenhouse fruits. I think we're losing a little bit of what plants used to be like, and these are my favourite, just growing tomatoes in dirt. So that's part of the reason why we're doing this. In saying that, we're going to have a crack at growing tomatoes in a greenhouse through winter. We've got a pretty warm little valley down here near the coast, so we're going to have a go at some greenhouse tomatoes. But for summer, we're growing them outside like this, and they seem to be going pretty well. I can just see a cucumber over there that's getting pretty close to harvest, so we might pop over and have a look. So here we've got these chicks are just coming on. We haven't picked any yet, but as you can see, very, very close. We're about a day away from starting to harvest, which is very, very exciting. And this is typically you'll come in the morning like this, and you'll see leader growth bolting away. We've got simply pick it up like this, get one of the clips, bend them through there, and that's good to keep running up the trellis from that point on. So I'm actually going to do another video later on showing how we trim the tomatoes and the cucumbers every couple of days. So keep an eye out for that. We use a watering system with tea tape. So if you have a look here, each row of plants has its own tea tape with its own tap, and we've got a main tap on that line. You would have noticed that the rows are alternating between tomatoes and cucumbers. The theory is that next year we'll grow the tomatoes where the cukes are now, and vice versa, and that way the plants aren't growing in the same beds. So tomatoes, cukes this year, next year it'll be cukes, tomatoes, just alternating in the ground. So yeah, the whole enclosure is covered by shade sail. We've been getting a bit of rain. We've got a bit of an El Nino event happening at the moment, so it's pretty humid where we are now, and that's why the flow through is quite good. But tomatoes, as much as they like the heat, they don't really like that direct burning sunlight, so we've got a shade sail over the top. So starting on the wall, we've got the green zebra tomatoes. They're an heirloom variety. Really nice lemony taste in there. Then we've got the Tigerella heirlooms, and then we've got a commercial red variety here. Now, all the plants in here were direct seeded. A couple of them have been replanted, so we direct seeded a couple of seeds in each spot and then thinned them out for the strongest plant. And then we had a couple that died, so a couple of cucumber plants got eaten by snails and slugs right at the start. And we replaced those with a couple of additional cukes from here, but everything's been direct seeded in situ where they are, so that's also a pretty good result. And the cucumbers we're growing here, they're all Lebanese cucumbers. Again, we had some standard, the first row is a standard variety that we got from a seed supplier, and these ones here are a commercial variety, and while they're still organic, they still really kick on. They've been bred to run up trellises and stuff like that, and they're going, as you can see, they're going extremely well, extremely happy, and just coming on fruit, which is amazing. So yeah, we've got a long time to go in our season. Stuff could go wrong or it could keep going this well, but I just thought I'd film a clip now showing how it is at this stage, and we might do a little update one later on when we're in full fruit, or see how the Y's are going, holding on to lots and lots of kilos of fruit. We're expecting about 10 to 20 kilos per tomato plant, and to be honest, I've got no idea what the cucumbers are meant to do. Just noticed, extra little point there's one of our bees. We've got a beehive just outside the garden, and the bird aviary mesh that we've used on here specifically doesn't stop bees coming in. So our bees that are only 20 metres away, they can come in here and pollinate, like these guys are flying around here now. So keeping out the bad insects but letting the good insects in. That's about it. That's our tomato and cucumber enclosure, Deua River Organics. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and I hope if you want to subscribe and watch more of our videos, or give us any feedback or comments, feel free to do that down there, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.